Welcome to the channel and welcome to this game of Grimdark Future. In this game I'm going to be trying a bit of an experiment, so I'll be using what you see before you, which is 1490 points, so 1500 points in effect, of human defence forces, and I'll be going up against a larger force, 2000 points, of high elf fleets. And the reason for that is it's a bit of an experiment to see if going up against a larger AI force helps to balance things a bit. Because as you may have seen from previous videos that I've done, if you go up against the AI rules, it gets a bit easy to beat them because you can predict what they're going to do and counteract that before they even do it. So this is an experiment to see if giving myself a 500 point handicap will level things out a bit and make it a bit more interesting. So to kick things off with the Human Defence Forces, I've got my commander, Major Vincenzo. He has been upgraded with a plasma pistol and an energy fist. I've got a new unit, which is a unit of 5 veterans. Never used these guys before. One of them has been upgraded with a grenade launcher. I've then got some combined infantry squads. Ordinarily infantry squads come in units of 5, but I've taken double squads of 10. And similarly to the veteran squads, 1 trooper in each unit has been upgraded with a grenade launcher, and the rest are standard infantry. To go with one of the infantry squads, we've got a psychic, and to go with another squad, we've got an executioner. And the executioner has also been upgraded with a plasma pistol and an energy fist, just like the commander. And then the big guns at the back, we've got on the left a support vehicle armed with 2 twin shard mortars, because I do love artillery. In the middle we've got a battle tank that's been upgraded with a battle cannon, a laser cannon and 2 heavy machine guns. And then in the top right we've got another new model, which is an attack vehicle equipped with a flamethrower cannon and a heavy machine gun. Now I have used that once in another game and it didn't last very long. But bringing it along today, hoping that it will at least get a chance to move before it gets knocked out by the opponent, which is what happened in a previous game. And that moves us nicely on to the army that knocked it out, which is the High Elf fleets. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the trend for having a lockdown army, and this is one of the lockdown armies that I've been painting since the start of the pandemic. And that was because my dear wife said that yeah, she was starting to feel sorry for me, so she decided that she would try to take an interest in wargaming. So this is the army I've built and painted for her. This is 2000 points of High Elf fleets. So yes, my wife does play war games with me, so I'm not sad and lonely all the time. But yeah, if you've been following on the Clash of the Dice Instagram account, you probably have seen some of these as and when they got painted. So we have got, starting things off, a High Seer. He's been upgraded with Psyker 2 and an Energy Spear. We have got 2 identical Defender squads, both of which have been upgraded with a missile launcher. Over here we've got an anti-grav APC, that's got a shard cannon and a twin shard cannon. Up in the top left we've got a Wraith Walker, that's been upgraded with 2 flamethrowers and 2 star cannons. Next to the Wraith Walker we've got the Combat Walker, and the Combat Walker has got 2 shard cannons, and it's also got the scout ability that comes as standard, so that means it will be deploying last, because I've got no units in the Human Defence Forces that have got the scout ability, so that will deploy last, and it can make a free 12-inch move ignoring penalties for terrain. So yeah, that's particularly beneficial for them. And then between the APC and the Combat Walker we've got a squad of 3 jet bikes. They tend to be quite squishy, they don't have tough, which surprises me. So yeah, 1 wound each, but they are very fast. Then again, the APC is also very fast. They both have that ability, which means yeah, on a standard move, a standard advance, they're moving 12 inches instead of 6. And if they're going to rush, they can move 24 inches. So yeah, they really are quick. The Defenders squad and also the High Seer have also got the fast ability, as does the Combat Walker. So yeah, the Wraith constructs, the Wraith Walker and the Wraith suits, which I'll get to shortly, they don't have the fast ability, so they're the slowest things in the army. They still move the regular 6 inches though. Right, so on to the Wraith suits. These are particularly devastating when you get on the wrong side of them. They've been upgraded with distortion guns. Each distortion gun kicks out 6 shots each, and they're rending as well. So there's 5 of them with 6 shots each. That's a total of 30 shots, and when you're on the receiving end of that with rending, yeah, that's really nasty. Fortunately, they're only 12-inch range and they only move 6 inches. So yeah, you kind of have to load them into a transport. However, we're playing these as AI rules, which means you randomly determine which unit is going to go in the transport in the APC, and I've already rolled for that, and it's one of the defender squads that's going in the APC. So yeah, that's 2,000 points on the nose of High Elf fleets using version 2.10 of their army list. Of my dear lady wife's High Elf fleets, I should say. And in terms of the AI rules, so we have the defender squads. Pretty much everything is going to be a shooting unit. So the defender squads are shooting units, the Wraith suits are shooting units, the Combat Walker is a shooting unit, the Wraith Walker is a shooting unit, the Jet Bikes are a shooting unit, the APC is a shooting unit. About the only thing that isn't, in fact, yeah, the only thing that isn't is the High Seer. The High Seer, I'm going to say, is a hybrid unit. So his melee attacks are slightly better than his ranged attacks with his shard pistol. He gets 1 shot with his shard pistol at 12-inch range, whereas he gets 2 attacks at AP2 with his energy spear. So yeah, I'm going to say he's a hybrid unit. Everything else is a shooting unit for the purposes of the AI rules. Okay, we're set up. We've got 5 objectives. As I like to do, there's one right smack in the centre, and there are 3 others to the left of the centre from this perspective. We've got the High Elf fleets deployed in front of me and my human defence forces on the opposite side of the table. And there's one more objective over here. Now, with the quirkiness of the AI deployment, virtually all of the High Elves are over on this side, certainly a lot of their big powerful stuff. In the centre we've got a unit of defenders, the APC, and inside the APC there's the other unit of defenders. There's nothing whatsoever over on this flank. I've tried to spread myself out fairly evenly, so we've got some infantry over there on the top left with the executioner. Behind that rock we've got the commander with the veterans. There's the attack vehicle in those woods. I've taken 1 tree out just for convenience, but that'll get put back as and when we move out. There's the standalone infantry squad. Behind the trees, there's the support vehicle. And then I've got the tank and the other infantry squad with the psychic. Now then, because the High Elves have flooded this flank, I'm hoping that essentially what I can do is fight off these guys with relative ease and hold these objectives and just keep the big nasty stuff, the really tough stuff over here, off the objectives. That's the tactic I'm going for. We'll have to wait and see if it works. But in the meantime, by virtue of the fact that the High Elves have got a scout unit, that gets deployed last. Therefore, I deployed first, so I get the first activation. Okay, for my first activation, I'm going to activate that infantry unit with the psychic in it, and I'm going to move it up into cover of that rock. And I'm going to be careful to keep the psyker itself within 12 inches of the tank, because I want to cast a psychic spell on it that will make it better at shooting things. Right, the infantry squad with the psychic have moved up to the rock. I've left the grenade launcher sticking out a bit so that he can still have line of sight to the High Elves. And the psychic in the meantime is going to cast Foresight on the tank. This has got a casting value of 4 up. He's psychic 1, so we'll go off on a 3 up. And that's a 6. So that passes. So the tank is now +1 to shoot. So we'll be shooting on 3s instead of 4s. And now the grenade launcher, who you can just see peeking out behind the rock, is going to take a pot shot at one of the Wraith suits with an anti-tank grenade. And I'm going to give the Wraith suits benefit of cover because they are behind the Combat Walker and also the terrain. So this is going to hit on a 6. And that's a 6. Good-o. Right, so anti-tank grenade is AP 1, so that takes their 2-up save to a 3-up save for the Wraith suits. And that's a 6 as well. Okay, that's a shame. If that had failed, that would have killed one of the Wraith suits. Right, that's the end of that activation. So the first activation for the High Elf fleets is going to be, that'll be in the centre, so that would be the unit of defenders that's not embarked on the APC. The defenders have advanced up onto the objective, and all of the shard guns are out of range of any targets, but the missile launcher has got line of sight to the attack vehicle down here. So it's going to fire an anti-tank missile, which will hit on a 4, and that's a 1, so that's a miss. Moving on to my turn, the battle tank is going to stay still and pump all of its guns into that combat walker, because right now that's the biggest threat. It's the closest to me. It's got I think it's got the longest range. Certainly got good enough range for it to be a target for the combat walker. So yeah, we're going to shoot everything at the combat walker. We'll start with the main gun, which is 1 shot, which with the spell will now hit on a 3, and that is a 3. And it's blast 6, so that explodes into 6 hits at AP 3. And the combat walker has got a 2-up save, so that makes it 5-up saves. And that's 3 passes, 3 fails, so it's down to 3 wounds. Starts with tough 6. Next we move on to the laser cannon, which is 1 shot again, hitting on a 3, and that's a 4. And this is AP 4, so this will be a 6-up save. That's a 4, so that's a fail. So that is deadly 3, so that's enough to strip off the last 3 wounds from that combat walker. Just in case there's any disgruntled High Elf players out there who think I should have given it the benefit of cover. Again, I'm trying to play a common sense rule in that it's a pretty big model, and I don't think it's really feasible that it can duck and dodge and hide behind the debris. Over here, yeah, definitely. If I ever get around to shooting at these guys, they're quite small, quite agile. They can quite easily hide behind the rocks and boulders strewn around these areas of difficult terrain. Whereas this thing, it sticks out a bit, and it's purple against the grey background, so yeah, I'm not going to say that gets the benefit of cover. So please feel free to disagree with me, but yeah, primarily this is difficult terrain rather than cover terrain. So yeah, I'm not going to give that walker the benefit of cover. And the next unit to activate for the High Elves is going to be, there's nothing in zone 1/2, so that will be the hover tank, the APC. So the anti-grav APC has moved towards the objective in the centre of the table, and because it only advanced, it can still fire. The nearest enemy target is that unit of infantry, and they are in cover in the trees. Now the rules say that they can shoot at a different target if the nearest one is in cover, but the attack vehicle is also in cover because it's more than 50% obscured by this piece of impassable terrain. The tank is out of range, and the grenade launcher on that infantry squad is just in range, and from the point of view of the APC, they are less than 50% obscured, so it's a bit tenuous, but yeah, I'm going to say they can shoot at that infantry squad, or rather the APC can shoot at that infantry squad without it having the benefit of cover. The APC has got a shard cannon and a twin shard cannon, so the shard cannon is 3 shots, twin shard cannon is double that, so another 6 shots. They're all the same weapon profile, so 9 shots, all hitting on 3s. And there's 3 fails, statistically accurate. There was a 6 in there, which is rending, but that doesn't really make a difference because they're AP1 anyway, and infantry squads have got a 5-up save, so this is going to be saving on 6s regardless. and there's none there, so that's 6 members of the infantry squad die. So that means they'll have to take a morale check. We've removed the 6 casualties from the infantry squad. They now need to take a morale check. They are quality 5+, regardless of whether we use the infantry squad's quality or the psychic's quality. So on a 1, 2, 3, 4, they will be pinned. On a 5, 6, they'll be fine. And that's a 5. So they're absolutely fine. The support vehicle down here with the mortars is going to shoot up and over at the jet bikes and see if we can't take out some of the High Elves' mobility. So there's 8 shots in total, hitting on 4s. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's 3 hits. These are blast 3, so that equates to 9 hits in total. And the jet bikes have a 5-up save. And only 2 of those save. They haven't got any tough, they're only 1 wound each, so that is 7 wounds go through, all 3 jet bikes taken out. The next unit to activate for the High Elves was the Wraith suits, because everything in any other zone has already activated, so that just leaves these 3 units over in this zone, and the Wraith suits were closest to an objective. They are a shooting unit, so they have advanced forwards onto the objective. Now they're moving through difficult terrain, so they can't move further than 6 inches, so that's where they stop, and there are no enemy targets within range because they're only 12-inch range on their weapons. Onto my activation, I've activated the attack vehicle. It has advanced and it's going to shoot at those defenders in the rough terrain near the objective. Now, I said earlier I would give the defenders the benefit of cover, so this is going to be hitting on 5s instead of 4s. The flamethrower has got 6 attacks at AP1, the heavy machine gun has got 3 attacks at AP1, they're all in range, so I'll just roll all of the attacks together. So 9 attacks hitting on 5s, and there's 1, 2, 3 hits. Again, statistically accurate. So this will be 3 saves, AP1 makes them 6s. And 3 fails, so 3 defenders die. Right, I just realised that on the last High Elf activation I activated the Wraith suits and said there was no need to roll the dice because everything in the other zones is activated. And again, I forgot the fact that there are some defenders inside that anti-grav APC. So I will roll for activation this time round. And so that would be a 1, but there's nothing in the zone 1, 2. So moving to clockwise into this zone, so it will be the defenders in the anti-grav APC who will activate now. Right, the defenders have disembarked from the APC. They've moved on to the objective, or rather past the objective, as far as they can. They can move 6 inches in difficult terrain, even though they've got the fast rule. It's difficult terrain, so it slows them down to 6 inches. The individual defenders have got that infantry squad in range of their shard guns, but the tank is out of range for the shard guns. So the 9 shard guns are going to shoot at the infantry squad in the trees, and the missile launcher is going to shoot at the tank that you can just see at the top of the screen. We'll start things off with the shard guns, and the infantry squad will get the benefit of cover for being in the trees. There's going to be 2 shots each, hitting on 5s because of the cover. And that's a lot. Let's have a look. So there are 7 hits, 3 of which are rending because of the 6s. Not that makes a huge difference, as we discussed before, because infantry squads have only got a save of 5 up anyway. So that's going to be 7 saves of 6s. And there's 3 6s, to be fair. So 4 members of the infantry squad die. And then an anti-tank missile shooting at the tank, which will not get the benefit of cover. So this will hit on a 4. And that's a hit. AP3, so a 5-up save, and that's a 6, so it saves. For my activation, I've activated the veteran squad with the commander. The commander has issued them the take aim order, which gives them +1 to shooting rolls, and they've advanced, and they're going to shoot at the defender squad that recently disembarked. So the defenders are in cover, so that cancels out the +1 to hit basically. Veterans hit on 4s instead of 5s, so they're still hitting on 4s because the +1 -1 cancel each other out. We'll start things off with the grenade launcher. The grenade launcher is going to fire a high explosive grenade, which is 1 shot hitting on a 4, and that's a hit, and that becomes blast 3, so 3 5-up saves. Oh, 2, look, 2 make it, so that's 1 defender gone. And then we've got 4 assault rifles hitting on 4s, and that's only 1 hit, so not so statistically accurate this time. And a 5-up save for that. That's cocked, probably would have been a 5, but that's definitely a 5. So after that, only 1 defender dies. Starting to think I should have activated that infantry squad when I had the chance, because the Wraithwalker is activated next for the High Elf fleets. It has advanced, and the only unit it can shoot at is that infantry squad. So there's only the star cannons in range. They're 2 shots each, and there's 2 of them, so 4 shots, ordinarily hitting on 3s, but because of benefit of cover, hitting on 4s. And that was a 4, so that's 3 hits. AP2, so saving on natural 6s, none, so that's 3 more infantry die. That will leave 3 left in the squad, so they now need to take a leadership check, morale check, on a 5-up. That's a 3, so they are now pinned and won't be able to activate. Well, when I say it won't be able to activate, the only activation it can do is to remove its pin. But yeah, I have decided to activate the other infantry squad with the Executioner. They've moved on to the objective, or slightly past the objective, and going to shoot at those defenders. And this will be 9 shots from the assault rifles. Ordinarily hitting on 5s, but I'm giving the defenders the benefit of cover, so hitting on 6s. Not a single one. And a HE grenade from the grenade launcher, hitting on the 6. That hits. Blast 3, so 3 5-up saves. And there's only 1, so 6. So 2 more defenders die in that squad, which takes them down to half their starting size. So they now need to make a morale check, which will be a 4-up. And that's a 6, so they're not pinned. The last unit to activate for the High Elves is the High Seer. He has advanced towards the nearest uncontrolled objective, as far as he can anyway, 9 inches, because he's got the fast special rule. And he will now attempt to cast a psychic spell. There'll be no enemy units within range for any offensive spell, so it's going to be a defensive spell. And technically he's in range of himself, so any defensive spell will be cast on himself. So what we do is we roll a dice, D3, and add the Psyker level to it. He's a Psyker 2, so that will be a 3 plus 2 is 5. The 5th one on the list is Blessing, which is target friendly unit within 12 inches may immediately charge by up to 6 inches and gets +1 to hit for that melee. So I'm going to say that one really doesn't count because there's nothing within charge range. So the next one along is Curse. That's target 2 enemy units within 6 inches, so that's no good. So you keep cycling through until you get to one that you can actually use. And the next one on the list is Creator. Target friendly unit within 12 inches gets +1 to defense next time it takes hits. So that goes off on a 5. He's psychic 2, so it will go off on a 3. Yeah, so 4. So, as I say, technically he's in range of himself, but I think logically it makes sense to put it on the Wraithwalker. The AI rules don't seem to be very clear on what unit gets the benefit of a friendly psychic spell. So I'm going to do a what makes sense. So I'm going to say it goes on the Wraithwalker. The Wraithwalker has now got Creator +1 defense next time it takes hits. Because let's face it, that Wraithwalker is going to get shot at some point. And all that remains for me to do for my activation is to remove the pin marker on that infantry squad, and that'll be the end of turn 1. At the end of turn 1, the High Elves are in control of the central objective, this objective, and this objective, whereas my human defense forces are in control of that objective and that objective. However, I think we've done more damage to the High Elf fleets than they've done to us. We've lost half a dozen or so infantrymen. All of our vehicles are unscratched, whereas the High Elves have lost their 3 jet bikes, their combat walker, and again about half a dozen or so defender infantry. But their APC is unscratched, this walker is unscratched, and those wraith suits are unscratched. So moving into turn 2 could be very interesting. Moving into turn 2, the High Elves finished activating first in turn 1, so they will get to activate first in turn 2. And the unit that will activate first is over on the right flank. So that will be the unit that is closest to an uncontrolled objective, and that will be the Wraithwalker. And just like on its last turn, it's advanced towards the nearest uncontrolled objective, and it's going to shoot at the target that is in range, and that will be that infantry squad again. So 4 shots hitting on 4s. And they all miss. 3 3s and a 2. Right, moving on to my activation, I'm going to use the support vehicle to shoot at those defenders who are posing a bit of a problem to that infantry squad, or what's left of it. So let's do this. This will be 8 shots hitting on 4s, although they technically get cover because they're in the difficult terrain, and I don't think there's anything that says that indirect fire ignores cover. So yeah, this will be 8 shots hitting on 5s. There's 1, 2 hits, and at blast 3 each, that becomes 6 hits in total, so 6 5-up saves. And there's 2 saves, so 4 defenders die. That will now warrant a morale check on the defenders, so 4 up, and that's a fail, so they are pinned. Excellent. So that helps take the pressure off that infantry squad a bit. The next unit to activate for the High Elves will be that will be the other unit of defenders. The defenders have advanced, heading towards the objective down here, so they've had to move out of the difficult terrain, which means they'll actually be able to move further on the next turn. But for now, the only thing that has a target in range is the missile launcher, and the closest enemy unit is actually the infantry squad by about ½ an inch. So this will be 1 shot from the missile launcher using the HE profile, so hitting on a 4, and that's a hit. So that explodes into blast 3, so 3 hits, 5-up saves. And that's 1 save, so 2 infantrymen die. Right, so on my activation, ideally I'd like to cast the spell on the tank again to give it +1 to hit when it shoots. The next most likely unit to activate is that APC, and I would kind of like to take care of it before it activates. But yeah, so I'm trying to decide whether it's worth taking the gamble that after it's moved towards the nearest enemy objective, or unoccupied objective, which is this one, it will have to move around, because Strider doesn't allow you to pass over friendly units. It allows you to ignore the penalties for difficult terrain. So it essentially would move around the defenders and end up round about there, and then shoot at the nearest enemy unit. Now, the nearest enemy unit that's not in cover, which would either be the attack vehicle or the tank. Now, assuming it's the tank should be okay. If it's the attack vehicle, it could be in a bit of trouble. But yeah, it's a tricky one decision to make. I would rather that thing was hitting on 3s instead of 4s. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I think I'm going to take a gamble, activate that infantry unit with the Psyker, so that this is going to be hitting on 3s. And again, there's no guarantee that it will be hitting on 3s, because he needs to roll the dice first. But yeah, I'm going to take that gamble, I think, and hope it pays off. Right, so a little bit gamey. I've repositioned the Psyker and the other members of the infantry squad, and the Psyker is still within 12 inches of the tank, so he's still within range to get that spell off. And I've made sure that they're within 6 inches as a whole, and the grenade launcher has moved out, keeping within 2 inches coherency of the rest of the squad, so that he can now target the APC. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to first of all cast the spell on my own tank, and that will go off on a 3, and that's a 3. So the tank is now hitting on 3s instead of 4s. And then we're going to take a shot at the APC, which is one shot hitting on a 5, which is a miss, because that's a 4. Let's see if my gamble paid off and see who is activating next for the High Elves. And that's a 2, so yes, that is the APC, because that'll be the next one that activates. Everything in this zone is activated, so moving to the next middle zone, and the only thing there that can activate is the APC, because the Guardian defenders are pinned. So yeah, as I feared, the APC has moved around towards the nearest uncontrolled objective. Yeah, the attack vehicle is less than 50% obscured, so it won't get the benefit of cover from that rock. So the APC will shoot at the attack vehicle rather than the infantry squad in the trees. So this will be 9 shots hitting on 3s, 6s are rending. Ooh, and there's 2 6s and only 3 regular misses. Alright, so 4 regular hits. This will be -1. So this will be 3 up saves, and fails 1 of those. So it takes 1 wound, down to 5 left because it's tough 6. So it is going to survive. But now 2 at -4 will mean we need 6s. Oh, there's a 6. So it takes 1 more. So it's down to 4 wounds left. So it's not going to be at the risk of being pinned. Excellent. So it looks like my gamble paid off. Right, and I really want that APC dead. So for my activation, firing everything from the tank into the APC might be a little bit overkill, but I'd rather take care of it than have it zipping around. It's currently the most mobile unit they've got, so I don't think I need any more justification than that. Main battle cannon, 1 shot, hitting on a 3 because of the spell. That's cocked. Looks like a 3, but it was cocked. So that's a hit, that's 5. So that explodes into 6 saves at AP3, so there's going to be 5s, and saves 2 of them. So it's taken 4 wounds, it's down to 2 left. The laser cannon hits on a 3, 1 shot, and that is a 3. This is AP -4, so we need a 6 to save. And that's a fail. It's deadly 3, so that will finish off the APC. The next unit to activate for the High Elves will either have to be the High Seer or the Wraith Suits, because one unit of defenders is pinned, the other one is activated, and the Wraithwalker is activated. The APC has been destroyed, so they're the only 2 units left. Now, the Wraith suits are actually about 1 centimetre closer to an uncontrolled objective as the crow flies than the High Seer, so they will activate next, and I think they're going to have to move out of the difficult terrain. But I don't know if that makes sense to move them out and this way, so I might move them out and that way, so they are at least heading towards an enemy unit that they might be able to shoot at. So in the end I decided to move them this way, straight through the difficult terrain. They're already in it, so it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. If they'd have moved out of it and advanced, but they can only move 6 inches anyway, so yeah, I figured they can go straight through it. At least that way they are moving towards an uncontrolled objective. If they'd have come out and gone that way, there's no objectives up there, so yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to be going completely the wrong way. So yeah, just moved them this way through, and they can't move any further than that. They can't rush because they're in difficult terrain. So that is the end of their activation. So moving on to my next activation. For my activation, I've activated the attack vehicle. It has advanced, but it's only moved 6 inches because it's about to enter difficult terrain. So by the end of the next turn, assuming it is still in one piece, it will be able to advance onto that objective. In the meantime, it's going to shoot its flamethrower and the heavy machine gun into those defenders. So as before, all shots at the same time because they're all in range, they're all the same profile. So 9 shots hitting on 5s. I will give them the benefit of cover because I'm shooting across difficult terrain. And that's 3 hits. I would have got 1 more if I hadn't given them the benefit of cover. So it wouldn't have wiped out the squad anyway. So this is -1, so 6 up saves. Nope, so that's 3 more Guardians die. Defenders rather. Wrong universe. And leadership check 4 up. And that's a fail. So the remaining 2 Guardians, defenders, are pinned. I realised I made a mistake last time when I activated the High Seer. At the moment the High Seer is the only thing that can activate because those defenders are pinned. They get to be unpinned at the end of the turn after everything else on the table is activated. So yeah, he should have rushed last time I activated him. So he has now rushed, and that just leaves spell casting. You can't shoot at anything, and none of the offensive spells will be in range again, so that leaves us with just defensive spells that are actually physically able to be cast. And of those you've got Creator and Blessing, and Blessing is an interesting one. It's got a 12-inch range and it enables a unit to immediately charge by up to 6 inches and get +1 to hit for that melee. Now the only unit that could possibly benefit from that is those defenders, but they're pinned. But I'm going to avoid that controversy by simply pointing out that those defenders are actually about 7 inches away from the unit of infantry in the trees, so they wouldn't be able to get into combat range anyway. So that just leaves us with Creator rather. So I'm just going to try and cast Creator, which will go off on a 3. And if it goes off, we'll put it on those defenders because the Wraithwalker has already got it. And that was a 6. So we'll give those defenders +1 to their saving throws the next time they're shot at, which is probably going to be right now. My activation, what's left of that infantry squad is going to shoot at the defenders. So we've got 2 shots with assault rifles which will hit on 6s because the defenders are in cover. And both of those miss. And 1 shot with an a high explosive grenade from the grenade launcher will hit on a 6, and that's a 1, so that misses. So the defenders retain their +1 saving throw because they haven't taken any hits yet. And we continue with my activations because the only things left to activate are those defenders. They're pinned, so they activate after everything else, including my stuff. For my next activation, the commander with his veteran squad have advanced to consolidate that objective, and they're going to shoot at the defenders. So we've got 4 assault rifles, and again he's given them the take aim order, so that cancels out the -1 to shooting because the defenders are in cover. So 4 shots hitting on 4s. All 4 of them hit this time. So 4 up saves because they get +1 from their defensive spell they've got on them. So 4 up saves, and all 4 fail. So that's 4 more defenders die. There's 1 left. We've got a grenade launcher, so we'll lob a high explosive grenade in from the grenade launcher, which will hit on a 4, and that is a 5, and that's blast 3. So that's 3 more 4 up saves, and 1 of those 3 fails. So that's the last of the Guardian defenders taken out on that objective. For my last activation this turn, the infantry squad with the executioner has advanced and are going to shoot at the defender squad. So there'll be no cover this time because they're not in cover. So 9 assault rifle shots hitting on 5s. And that is 4 hits, all of them 6s. 4 5 up saves. Need 2 of these to fail, and 3 of them fail, so that is that defender squad wiped out as well. At the end of turn 2, we have managed to clear the High Elves out of this part of the battlefield. However, they are still considered to be holding that objective and that objective because they captured it in previous turns. But their footprint is basically this. And for myself, yeah, I've done a lot better. So I don't think I took any casualties in that last turn. If I did, there weren't many. Yeah, we got some scratches on the attack vehicle, and that was about it. So things are looking a lot more positive going into turn 3. I would imagine there's not a lot the High Elves can do now, but we'll carry on playing just to be certain of it. But yeah, I think by the end of turn 3, I will certainly be in control of these 3 objectives, possibly that one, but definitely 3 objectives. So yeah, I just need to stick with my original strategy, which is take those objectives and keep the elves off them. So moving into turn 3, technically I get the first activation because technically the High Elves finished activating last because they had pinned units. So yeah, they have to activate them to remove the pin, so technically they activated last. For my first activation, I think I'm going to be dashed unsporting and yeah, shoot the support vehicle with its mortars over at the High Seer. So if we can't polish that off, because again, it's the closest enemy unit to me that's going to get to some objectives, and I think it's the one that the support vehicle is most likely to take out. So 8 shots hitting on 4s. And that is 3 hits, which translates into 9 saves. So 9 saves required, a 4 up. It is tough 3, so needs to make ideally, what, 7 of these? 50-50 chance? Not looking very likely, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 saves, so 3 get through, 4 get through, so that will kill him because he's tough 3. For the High Elves, the Wraithwalker is activated, it has advanced, and it's going to shoot at the infantry squad in the trees. So 4 shots from the star cannons hitting on 4s, and that's 2 hits. So these are AP2, so these will be natural 6s to save. So 2 more die. There's 1 guy hanging in there, leadership check. That 1 guy hanging in there will be the grenade launcher and he will be pinned. My activation, similar to what I did last turn, this infantry squad with the psychic. First of all, we're going to try and cast the spell on the tank, which will go off on a 3 up, so it will then be shooting on 3s instead of 4s. So that's a 4, so that's a pass. And now the grenade launcher will take a pot shot with an armor piercing grenade at the Wraithwalker. So this will hit on a 5, which misses. The Wraith suits have activated and they have moved as far as they can because they started in difficult terrain. So yeah, that's as far as they can get. So at this stage I think it's pretty much a lost cause for the High Elves. They're just not going to be able to get onto those objectives in the next turn. So we'll carry on playing it out and see what happens, but yeah, I think it's effectively all over for the High Elves. They've got the rest of this turn but nothing else to activate. They've got all of next turn, but yeah, they're not going to be able to get to them to another objective in time, I don't think. There's no need to worry about stopping for High Elf activations. The attack vehicle has advanced forwards onto that objective. It's now within 3 inches, and this infantry squad with the Executioner, they've rushed forwards in support as well. So that now puts me on 3 objectives. Technically the High Elves still have 2, but yeah, it's not quite the end of the turn. I've got a few units left to activate. The battle tank has advanced and is going to shoot at the Wraithwalker. We'll start with the main gun, which is 1 shot hitting on a 3 because of the spell. And that is indeed a 3. It's definitely worth taking that spell. So that's 6 hits due to blast 6 at AP 3, which effectively gets changed to AP 2 because the Wraithwalker itself has got a spell on it which gives it +1 to save throws. So yeah, basically AP 2, which makes it 4 up saves. And 2 pass, 4 fail. A Wraithwalker is tough 12, so that puts it down to 8 wounds left. Then we've got the laser cannon, which will hit on a 3, and that's a 5. So that's AP 4 down to AP 3, so 5 up save, and that is a 5. And then 6 heavy machine gun shots hitting on 3s, and 2 miss. And these are ordinarily AP 1, but again basically AP 0 now, so 2 up saves, and all of those pass. So only 4 wounds inflicted on the Wraithwalker, so it's down to 8 wounds left, not enough to trigger a morale check. Right, so the last unit that I can actually activate is this unit of veterans. So they have advanced, and this time the commander used his double time order, which means they can move an extra 3 inches, and that means that that chap there is actually just within 3 inches of that objective. He's about 2 3/4 inches away. So now they're going to shoot at the Wraithwalker. So we'll start with a high explosive grenade, which will hit on a 4 because I'm not going to give it the benefit of cover, and that's a miss. And then we've got 4 assault rifles hitting on 4s, and that's 2 hits. Obviously no AP, so 2 up saves. Nope, no damage taken. And then finally the commander's plasma pistol is in range, so this will be 1 shot hitting on a 4, and that's a hit. This is AP 2, so a 4 up save, and that's a fail, so takes 1 more damage, putting it down to 7 left. And the only thing that remains to do is unpin that solitary grenade launcher carrier in the woods, and that will be the end of turn 3. At the end of turn 3, the Human Defence Forces are in control of the middle objective, this objective, and those 2, and the High Elves remain in control of that objective. So moving into turn 4, I don't think realistically there's any way the High Elves can win, but we'll play it out anyway, simply because I like to be thorough. Right, so the High Elves will get the first activation because they finished activating first. The Wraithwalker has advanced towards that objective as it's now not controlled by the High Elves, and it's going to shoot everything in at the veteran squad. Starting things off with the flamethrowers, 6 shots each, there's 2 of them, so 12 shots hitting on 3s. 4 misses. So 8 hit. 8 saves of 5 up. And 5 of them save. So that's 3 wounds inflicted, 3 dead infantrymen. Then 4 shots with the star cannons, hitting on 3s. And 3 hit. These AP2, so natural 6s to save. And none of them. So that will kill all 5 of the veterans and take 1 wound off the commander. So the commander will have to take a leadership check, morale check, and this will be a 4 up, and that's a fail, so the commander is pinned. Right, onto my activation, and after careful consideration I think I'm going to shoot the support vehicle at those wraith suits. Yeah, I could have shot the tank, but the tank isn't leveled up with a spell yet, so it'll be hitting on 4s instead of 3s. Yeah, so those wraith suits are going to activate next, so I think the support vehicle is the one I've got the most chance of being able to do some damage to first. Right, so this is 8 shots, hitting on 4s. Would you look at that? They all hit. Every single one is a hit. So that's 24 hits, because each one is blast 3. 3 8's 24. I don't think I've got 24 grey dice. Yeah, I've only got 20, so pinch 4 purple ones. So 24 2-up saves. And we're looking for 1s. 1, 2, 3. So there's only 3 1s out of all those. So that will be enough to kill 1 of them. Right, so the wraith suits have advanced, and there's only 3 of them are in range of the commander. He's the only unit in range. Tank is out of range by about 1.5 inches. Yeah, and I'm going to say that there is actually one right behind the wraith walker. And yeah, so I'm going to say that they can shoot at the commander, but I'm going to say he gets the benefit of cover simply because they're trying to shoot past the wraith walker. So yeah, 3 of them in range. So 3 lots of 6 is 18 shots, and with benefit of cover because of the wraith walker being in the way, hitting on 4s. Okay. So only 7 shots hit, and 3 of them are 6s. Yeah, there's no natural minuses to these, so 3 of them will be saving on natural 6s. Yeah, none of them, so the commander is taken out. Right, so Psyker casting Foresight on the tank. And that's a 6, so that is successful. And the grenade launcher taking a pot shot with an anti-tank shot at one of the wraith suits, and that's a miss. Right, moving on to the tank. The main gun shooting at the wraith suits. Everything shooting at the wraith suits. The main gun hits on a 3, and that's a hit, so that turns into 6 hits. At AP3 are 5-up saves, 2 pass, 4 fail, so 1 wraith suit is dead, 1's down to 2 wounds left. We'll fire the heavy machine guns next, hitting on 3s, so that's 5 hits. AP1, 3-up saves, one of those fails, which means the laser cannon at best will just finish it off, assuming it hits on a 3, which it does, saves on a 6, which it doesn't. So yeah, that's 2 Wraith suits finished off by the tank, which means they need to take a leadership test of a 3-up, which is a pass. And with that, I think we're going to call it there. Nothing else is going to make too much difference at all. I can't get anybody onto those objectives. I might be able to get that grenade launcher on, but yeah, it's not really worth it. We've already won. I'm holding 3 objectives. The High Elves are holding definitely 1. That one in the middle, it's not technically contested because the Wraith Walker isn't quite close enough. So yeah, technically I'm holding 4 objectives. Right, so I think what went right for me was the look of the deployment. It was very fortunate that I had all of those really powerful units over on the High Elf right flank, and that left me a nice easy stratagem of being able to concentrate on my own right flank, consolidate that, and just hold off the High Elves. Those Wraith suits, they got to shoot once right at the end, and that's 460 points, so almost a quarter of the points value of the entire army, by virtue of the random deployment, got stuck over where they could barely do anything. So yeah, one of the quirks of the AI rules. So yeah, I took a bit more damage than I normally do when I play against an AI army, but then again, probably about as much damage as I normally would playing as the Human Defence Forces. I think what I'll do is I'm going to have a few games where I don't use the AI rules. I'm just going to play probably with the cards. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's like objective cards that you can take that you can use, like the old Warhammer 40k Maelstrom of War cards. There's sets of those. I printed them off, a couple of sets, and yeah, I might have a few games using those without using the AI rules, so I'll play as both sides. I think, yeah, I think with the AI rules you can very quickly work out how to beat them. So yeah, I don't think having a handicap the way I did by the AI having 500 points more than me, yeah, I think you have to crank it up quite a bit before you get to any point where it's going to make a significant difference, because it does come down to the randomness of the deployment for the AI forces. It comes down to the predictability once they are deployed as to what unit is going to activate next and how you can counter it. So yeah, I think if you're going to play with the AI rules, you almost want to do AI versus AI. Yeah, so yeah, I think I've beaten it enough times now for it to not be quite a challenge. And yeah, I think me playing both sides could be an interesting thing to do. I think that's what most people do when they play a lot of games solo where there is no AI rules available. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll have a couple of games where I'm playing against myself, and the objective cards should help to make sure that that's reasonably balanced, I think. But yeah, it was an interesting experiment. And thank you for taking the time out to watch it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please continue to like, comment and subscribe. Please continue to stay in and stay safe. Until next time, God bless.